In this short video, I'll be going through how to approach the June 2023 question paper 2-2 map skills parts for the IGCSE Cambridge Geography exam. So why this video? This video shows you how I would approach and how I would teach completing this question in the exam. It offers hints and tips on an approach to answering these questions, and you can follow through and complete as we go. But I think what's really important about this video that it shows you how to approach questions that can relate and are part of any other map skills part of this exam. So you can use the skills from this video and apply them to other exam papers, and that is probably the best way to make sure that you've understood how to complete this exam. So just to recap what's involved in the map skills question. There's 20 marks out of a possible 60 for this exam. It's compulsory, you have to answer every question. I would spend about 30 minutes on this. The main topics that tend to be asked are based in settlement or rivers part of the course, but it can dip into coasts and tourism, which this particular question does. Key equipments, a protractor, a ruler, pencil and a rubber, and sharpener, maybe a calculator as well. Just do the other bits. Right, so before starting the exam, it's really important that when you get the exam, you read through the whole exam, but then once you turn your attention to the map, you need to draw the following onto the map. A 32-point compass with all the various bearings. The reason you do that is so it helps you have a clear understanding of what all the different bearings and what the directions and what their bearings are, because without that, sometimes 1 or 2 marks you can lose out by writing in the wrong direction or not, and so it's important that you have that, and it's also a nice way to settle you before the exam. The other thing that you do is just to make sure you are aware of the scale and the contour line intervals. So in this particular case, the scale is 1 to 25,000, which means 1 centimetre on the map is 25,000 centimetres in real life, or 1 centimetre on the map represents 250 metres in real life, and that the contour line interval is 5 metres. So let's turn to the first question, and typically all map skills questions start off with this. You have a figure in the exam paper, and then you need to find that figure, that box in the map. Now the first thing to remember is that map extracts and the figure number have the same dimensions. So draw the outline of figure 1.1 onto the map outline to focus your attention. So right, this is the area I need to focus on. And these are typically what the questions are. So you've got, in this case, 5 things you need to identify, and it's really important that you read what they're asking you to focus on. So the type of road, feature B, feature C, the height above sea level of the contour at D, the land use. And so once you know that's the type of road, okay, so make sure that, right, it can't be a railway track or it can't be something else, it has to be a road. And then you go around finding the various features that have been labelled with a letter, just so you are aware of what you need to look at. And then once you've done that, you start going through one at a time. So the first one, we're looking at the road. A, and this question's a bit sneaky because it implies it could be the train track, but it's not, it's part of the roads. And then once you find the roads, you look at the key. And so, right, it's orange. The orange key is a secondary road, so I'm going to write that down. The next one we have is a religious building. Okay, so I need to find general features, and it's a current or former place of worship with spire, minaret, or dome. So remember, it's sequential. You need to match up exactly the symbol and then write out what it is. So place of worship with spire. Old money, this is many years ago, it would be a church with spire, but copy exactly what is on the key. The next one, we're looking at a mast. Now this one they give you, you're looking at the contour line interval. So here we're looking at the 85-metre line, so I'm going to write that. And then the next one, we are looking for this particular vegetation type, and so it's a non-coniferous trees. So here I'm going to write out all of the responses, and if we put them on the mark scheme, we can see they are all correct. So it's making sure you go through, being very careful, matching up exactly what's been shown. So for example here, in IV, the height above sea level of the contour line shown, so that's why I need to look at the brown line. So after land use maps, after using the key type questions, we move on to some map skills. And these are very common skills that tend to, at least one of them would appear in virtually all map skills question. It's finding the six-figure reference of a particular feature, or it's finding out the distance along a route. Typically they can be together. And so remember, the skills I'm going to show you, you can apply to any question. Map skills question that comes up asking you to do this. So we need to find the railway station. To do that, I'm going to go back to my figure and I'm going to circle it to make sure that's what I'm focusing on. Now remember, you are not looking for the six figure for F, you are looking at for the feature, so the center of the circle in this particular case. It's important to just double check the dimensions of the square in this case, because it's 1 to 25,000, it's a 4 by 4 centimeter square, and that's important, and I'll explain why in a minute. So the first thing to do is work out the 4-figure grid reference. Now to do that, you are finding out, you need to put a little dot in the bottom left-hand corner of the grid square that feature is in. You then find the numbers that are in line with the bottom left-hand corner. You start going along the corridor first, so 20 in this case, and then you go up the stairs, in this case to 48. So the 4-figure grid reference is 2048. So to work out the third and sixth number, so the first one we're going to do is working out how far along the line between 20 and 21 I need to be, so I'm in line with the centre of the railway station, of that circle, circle. So remember, there's a 4 by 4 centimetre square. So because in six-figure grid references, the third and sixth number goes from 0 to 9, 10 numbers, I need to divide the 40 millimeters or the 4 centimeters by 10. So I know that every 4 millimeters it is 1 point towards the is 1 point for the third and sixth number. So in this case, put my ruler, I measure it, we're going to about 3.5, 3.6, 36. So if I divide that by 4, I get to about 8.75. Now, I'm going to write 8. I don't think it's 9, because if it was 9, it would be a lot closer to the black line. In this case, it's a little bit further away, so I think it's more 8. Now, to go and find out the sixth number, so that the sixth number is how far up I need to go from 48, between 48 and 49, to be in line with the center of that circle. To put my ruler, it's 18 millimeters, so I divide that by 4, which is 4.2, so I'm going to put 48.4. If it was 5, it would be on exactly halfway, which it's not, so it would be on that 2 millimeter line, which in this case it's not, so I'm going to put 4. So I'm going to write the answer of 28.48.4, and when I show you the answer, you can see, right, they were generous and they gave you at least 9, and you could also have written 3 or 4, so the answer is correct. But remember, if it was 5, it would be exactly halfway for the sixth number, and if it was 9, I think it would be a lot closer to the black line, which it wasn't, to the 21 line, which it wasn't. So how to work out distance? So what is the distance along the railway line from the railway station at F to the southern edge of the map? So there's the railway station, and I'm following that black line, just double checking, all the way to the edge of the map, and you can see I've highlighted it there for you. So what I would do is divide up the railway line into as many straight parts as possible, and then I'll measure each straight path in centimeters, and then add up the lengths and use the scale to make the conversion. So here's a straight part here. So I've just made it a bit lighter for you, so it's easier to see. If I take out my ruler, the first distance is 1.5 centimeters, the next part is 5 centimeters, and then we're moving to 3.7 centimeters. Add those together, you get 10.2, and the scale is, for every 1 centimeter on the map, is 250 meters in real life. So 10.2 times 250 gives me 2,550 meters, but they want me to write it in kilometers. So divide by 1,000, so I'm going to write 2.55 kilometers. And if I show you the answers again, there we go. So the degree of tolerance, I'm well within that degree of tolerance, so my answer is correct. So the next set of questions are perhaps the most difficult geographical skill to do. So typically you have to identify or label on a feature. In this case, you have to identify the feature at X and Y and then complete a cross-section. So let's start off with the identifying the features. Now, what I would do is draw on the bottom of that cross-section onto my map, and I've done that in a red line. And remember that, again, the dimensions on my exam paper are the same as the dimensions on the map. As you can see here, 12 centimeters and 12 centimeters. And this is perhaps a little tip. I would also get a see-through ruler. It's a bit easier to see what it is you need to do. So the first thing I would do is take my ruler and I would measure from the left-hand edge to the right how many centimeters along I need to go to find feature, to identify feature X and Y. So you can see here, I go at 10.6 centimeters to arrive at feature X, and 11.2 to arrive at feature Y. So if I'm to zoom in now, and if I put my ruler against the map, so I'm going to 10.2. So at 10.6. At 10.6, I can see there is a building. Okay, so I'm going to think that at 10.6 centimeters, okay, there is a building. And at 11.2, I am coming across a main road. So for those, I'm going to write building and main road. Now, so remember, measure the distance from the left-hand edge on figure 1.2, and then transfer those distances onto the map to identify the feature. Remember to make sure you clearly find out where you are, and you look at the key on the map to work out exactly what is that feature. Now, the next question is perhaps the hardest one, the cross-section. Basically, what you are doing is you are working out the height of the brown contour lines as they cross that red line. And that's what you're going to plot onto the cross-section. So here I am drawing a distance between 3.3 centimeters and 4.6. So I'm going to find those on my map. And I need to work out the height of every time a brown line, the brown contour line, crosses that red line on there. So I'm going to zoom into the area and I'm going to look at the key again. And I know that every brown contour line is a unit of 5 meters. So it goes up or down by 5 meters. And you can see occasionally the height has been labeled onto the contour line. So I know by looking at if I'm going down to the sea or going up, depending if there's different heights labeled. So in this case, next to Waterside Hill, you can see is 95 meters. And just below hill, you can see there's 55 meters. So to go from 55 to 95, I need to go uphill, and every brown line is 5 meters. And then you can see at the 5.6 millimeter point on my ruler, it goes to 25. So from 55 to 25, I'm going downhill, and every brown line is 5 meters. So remember, I am working out the distance, on my ruler every time a brown line crosses the contour line. So we're going to start with 55 meters because that's been labeled. So the 55 meter line crosses the ruler at 4 centimeters and 3.4 centimeters. The next line down from that is going to be 50 meters to the right of 55. So that crosses the red line on my ruler at 4.1 centimeters and 3.3 centimeters. So I might write these down on a scrap piece of paper or on the map itself. And the next line up from 55 is going to be 60 meters, and that crosses the red line at 3.8. Now, by looking at this, you can also see that it doesn't, although it doesn't go towards 65 meters, which is the next line up from 60, it does go between 60 and 65. So remember, the land does go slightly higher than 60 meters. So remember, just recap, these are the distances that we calculated. So I'm going to start plotting on the 55 meter lines, points, then the 50 meters, and then the 60. But remember, when drawing my contour line, I'm going to make sure that it goes slightly higher than 60 meters, because in fact, that's what the land is. So I'm going to draw something like this. And so just to recap, yeah, rise to a hill just above 60 meters above sea level, allow 55 to 64 meters. So quite a common question associated with map skills is to identify some tourist attractions. So I've got another video on this, so check it out. But here, just to recap, this is what we mean by attractions for tourists. You can categorize them into natural, cultural, or entertainment. Luckily, often keys on maps help you to identify the tourist attractions. So here you go. We've got tourist and leisure information. So you can see these are all seen to be tourist sites. And sometimes you've got routes as well, which can be used, so like famous walkways. So let's start off in the northern hand part of the map. So we can see here I've circled this sort of these diamond-shaped green features, which if I look at my other public access is a recreational route. And obviously people might want to visit that part of the coast, to walk along the coastline along this recreational route. So I'm going to mark that on. If we continue southwards, we come across some other tourist and leisure information places, which in this case is a picnic site. So I'm going to mention that because that's part of the map. But also just slightly north of that, we've got a castle and a pier. A pier is something that in the old days they might put some amusement arcade on, or you could put some boats along there, and obviously the castles. That could be a reason to visit this part of the coastline. Again, we continue further south, we can see the name of the coastal path and also a golf club. But for this question, I just need to identify 4, so I'm going to put the recreational route, the golf course, the castle, and the pier. And these are all here on the correct answers. Now, the next one, describe the physical natural features of the coastline shown on the map extract. So I'm just going to continue and show you what I mean by that. So natural features, and just a quick point before I do, remember you only write what you can see. You cannot see waves, tides, or water currents unless they have all been marked. So natural features, you can comment on landforms such as mudflats, wave-cut platforms, bays, coves, headlands, spits, bars, tombolos, deltas, cliffs, caves, arches, stacks, and stumps, beaches by material as well, and human features of what have humans built, so harbours, ports, coastal defences, groins, etc. Okay, so remember, it's only what you can see. So if you go back to the map, well, I can definitely see a bay. I can also see with any bay there must be some sort of headlands, and that's been marked on there. I can look at this, what types of beach there is, so there's sand and shingle, so I can mention those. And also here we've got lots of rocks in the sea, which could possibly be stacks. So once doing that, I can write something like this. There is a bay called Ardnale Bay with a headland called Fireland Head. The beaches are made up of sand and shingle. In the bay there are rocks in the sea, possibly stacks. So there you go, there's the mark scheme, ticking many of the different aspects. And it doesn't matter if you write more than 3, if you include names, all this information just goes on to helping you get the correct answer. Right, describe how relief has affected the route of the railway line. And again, this is quite a challenging one. So I'll put this, apologies about putting it on the side, but it just makes it easier for you to see the whole of the train track. So describing the relief, the height and shape of the land. So how's that affected where a train has gone? So you do know, you can see there are lots of hills. Trains tend not to go over a hill or down because it's just too inefficient. So they tend to go either around or through. So you can see that it curves around landforms such as Talbot Hill. It follows along the valley floor because that's where it's flattest, so easier to build. And it tends to keep always to flatter land, again because it's easier to build. So knowing those 3 things, I'm going to write my answer like so. The train line travels along a valley floor or flatter lands. The train line curves around hills such as Talbot Hill. And that's it, so thank you for watching. Remember, a few things. Draw on any boxes or lines from the figures or the exam paper onto the A3 map. Draw on a compass with bearings. Identify the scale and contour line interval. Take it slowly. And remember to practice what you've seen from this video and apply the skills to other exam questions. Thank you.